Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to share some thoughts on a topic that has been buzzing in global discussions lately, a mix of politics, economy, and technology. I've been reflecting on what's happening in the United States, Latin America, and even the emerging power centers in the East. This conversation is vital because it connects the dots between the decisions being made by world leaders and how they impact us all. Let's start with the global political chessboard. One key player that always grabs attention is the United States. Recently, we've seen significant tensions in how the US is handling its relationships with other nations, particularly in Latin America and Europe. It's fascinating how the approach of leaders, like the US president, can shape the narrative of dominance. For example, the economic sanctions and tariffs imposed by the US have become tools to enforce its agenda. Take Colombia, for instance. The US threatened high tariffs on Colombian goods, a move that could cripple their economy. Why? Because Colombia initially resisted accommodating US policies regarding deported individuals. This aggressive negotiation style, speaking loudly while wielding the big stick, seems to be the strategy. And guess what? It worked. Colombia backed down. But here's the thing. What kind of precedent does this set for other nations? What does it mean for smaller economies that heavily depend on trade with larger powers? To me, it seems like an unsustainable model of diplomacy that risks alienating allies and fostering resentment. It's a game of short-term gains with long-term risks. Furthermore, when we look at similar patterns across other countries, it's clear that this type of power politics can strain global alliances. The delicate balance of mutual dependence can tip toward distrust, creating cracks in international relations. For example, the recent tensions with Denmark over Greenland, a literal attempt to purchase land, illustrate how outdated territorial ambitions can disrupt modern diplomacy. This brings into focus the bigger question. Are these tactics a sign of desperation, or simply a recalibration of global strategy? And then, there's the matter of Latin America's shifting alliances. As some nations in the region consider strengthening ties with BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, the traditional dominance of Western powers faces a direct challenge. This could reshape not only economic partnerships, but also the ideological landscape of international relations. Are we witnessing the dawn of a multipolar world where regional alliances hold the key to future prosperity? The emergence of BRICS as a counterweight to Western influence is particularly intriguing. Brazil, with its vast agricultural and natural resources, represents a major player in this bloc. Meanwhile, China's Belt and Road Initiative aims to connect the world through infrastructure investments, increasing its influence in regions that were traditionally under Western economic dominance. India's burgeoning tech sector and strategic alliances add another layer to this complex web. These developments signal a potential pivot in global power dynamics that could redefine the century. On the economic front, I've noticed a trend that's deeply concerning. The US is using economic leverage not just to strengthen its position, but to actively punish countries that don't align with its goals. Let's take a closer look at what happened with Denmark and the Greenland issue. The US threatened economic repercussions because Denmark refused to sell Greenland. Yes, you heard that right. A literal attempt to buy territory, a move that's outdated and reminiscent of imperialist times. These tactics show how interconnected economics and geopolitics have become. And this brings me to Latin America. The idea of aligning more closely with the BRICS countries is gaining momentum. For nations like Colombia, or even Brazil, working with BRICS could mean moving away from dependence on the US. While this sounds promising, it's not without its challenges. BRICS is still a relatively loose coalition. Can it truly compete with the economic clout of the US and its allies? That remains to be seen. Additionally, the economic systems of these emerging powers often operate on fundamentally different principles. BRICS nations, while united in their desire to counterbalance Western dominance, have varying agendas and priorities. For instance, China and India often compete as much as they cooperate. This dynamic could either strengthen the coalition through diversity or weaken it through division. Ultimately, the question remains, Can unity be achieved in such a fragmented global order? We should also consider the role of investment in these shifts. As nations seek alternative partnerships, they often face the challenge of attracting capital without losing sovereignty. It's a delicate dance. Investors look for stability, but geopolitical shifts can create uncertainty. When the US imposes sanctions or tariffs, it doesn't just disrupt economies, it shifts the perception of risk for global investors. Could this lead to a future where nations choose ideological alignment over financial pragmatism? If so, what does that mean for global growth? Another important element is trade. In Latin America, for example, export-heavy economies rely on favorable trade agreements. However, when the US imposes tariffs or alters these agreements, it creates ripples that affect millions of lives. Farmers, factory workers, and small businesses bear the brunt of these decisions. At what point does economic policy cross the line into economic coercion? Now, let's shift gears and talk about technology, a sector that's rapidly transforming the global landscape. Recently, artificial intelligence, AI, has been in the spotlight. The US announced a $500 billion investment into AI projects under a program called Stargate, which aims to secure its leadership in AI development. Yet, just as this ambitious plan was unveiled, a new competitor emerged from Beijing. A Chinese company introduced an AI model that claims to be faster, cheaper, and open source, and they reportedly developed it in just 2 months with a fraction of the cost. This has shaken the tech world, raising questions about whether the US can maintain its dominance in AI. What's even more intriguing is that this new competitor operates in a way reminiscent of the original vision of OpenAI: free and accessible technology for everyone. Remember when Elias Tusk co-founded OpenAI with the intention of creating open-source nonprofit AI? Somewhere along the line, that vision changed, and now we're left with a corporate race for control. This shift highlights a broader trend: how technology, originally envisioned as a tool for empowerment and equality, is increasingly being used as a mechanism for control and profit. This begs the question: are we prioritizing progress at the expense of our ethical principles? Let's dig deeper into what's at stake. AI isn't just a technological breakthrough, it's a strategic asset. Nations that lead in AI development gain advantages in economic productivity, military capabilities, and even cultural influence. It's no exaggeration to say that AI could determine the balance of global power in the coming decades. But at what cost? If unchecked, the pursuit of AI dominance could lead to ethical compromises, data misuse, and even a new form of digital colonization. It's a delicate line to walk, and the choices we make today will define the landscape for generations to come. AI also raises significant ethical questions. For instance, who owns the data that powers these systems? What safeguards are in place to ensure transparency and accountability? The potential for misuse is enormous, from biased algorithms to surveillance tools. As consumers and citizens, we must demand that governments and corporations prioritize ethics over profits in their AI endeavors. Here's what I've been pondering. What happens when technology, especially AI, becomes the ultimate tool for global power? We're already seeing how it impacts industries. Take NVIDIA, the tech giant behind GPUs essential for AI models. Their stock prices recently plummeted after this new Chinese AI launch. It's a clear sign that markets are reactive, and innovation can disrupt even the most established players. But the implications go beyond stock prices. What does this mean for society? Will AI widen the gap between nations, creating a new kind of digital divide? Or can it be a tool for inclusivity and empowerment? I'm leaning toward the idea that it's all about how we handle it. Governments, corporations, and even individuals need to prioritize ethical considerations. Without that, we risk heading toward a dystopian future where technology serves the few at the expense of the many. One interesting perspective comes from ancient teachings. Consider the biblical concept of stewardship. It's the idea that humans are caretakers of the resources and tools given to them. AI, in this sense, is a modern resource that requires responsible management. If we neglect this responsibility, the consequences could be severe. The same way a careless shepherd risks losing his flock, Irresponsible management of AI could lead to widespread societal harm. A more modern analogy is the concept of data stewardship. In the same way that early societies managed shared physical resources, today's leaders must manage shared digital assets responsibly. This includes everything from individual privacy to the collective impact of AI on employment and social structures. The stakes couldn't be higher. Now let's talk about the East's approach to progress. Countries like China have been strategic in their advancements. They've invested heavily in infrastructure, technology, and even space exploration. One example is their development of thorium reactors, an alternative to uranium for nuclear energy. This innovation positions them as leaders in sustainable energy solutions. And then there's their focus on education and discipline. While Western nations have been caught up in debates about sustainability and social issues, Eastern countries have streamlined their strategies. They've prioritized meritocracy and progress, often at a speed that leaves others playing catch-up. What strikes me most is how they've managed to challenge the dominance of Silicon Valley, creating their own tech hubs that are now competing on a global scale. This reminds me of the biblical parable of the talents, where individuals were entrusted with resources and expected to grow them responsibly. Eastern nations, in this analogy, seem to be maximizing their talents while some Western nations remain stagnant in debates and distractions. Could it be that while the West debates, the East innovates? Another aspect I've been reflecting on is how media shapes our understanding of these developments. The narratives we consume often focus on the superficial, the drama, the controversies, the headlines. But underneath, there are deep systemic changes happening. For instance, the control of information has become a tool of power. In China, apps like TikTok are used to promote education and skill development domestically, while serving as entertainment in the West. It's a dual strategy that's both clever and concerning. This brings me back to the idea of being informed. It's not enough to just know what's happening. We need to critically analyze the information and understand its broader implications. Otherwise, we're just consuming content without context, which can leave us vulnerable to manipulation. The Apostle Paul's advice in the Bible to test everything, hold fast to what is good, 1 Thessalonians 5:21, feels more relevant than ever. Applying this principle to our media consumption can help us discern truth from noise. What are we accepting as truth, and what are we rejecting without understanding? So where does this leave us? In a world that's increasingly interconnected yet divided, I believe it's crucial to focus on preparation. Economically, this means building resilience, whether that's through diversifying income streams, saving for emergencies, or investing wisely. Politically, it's about advocating for policies that promote fairness and sustainability. The AI landscape has been making headlines, and not just for its advancements. Just recently, a startling event occurred. A new AI system, DeepSeek, developed in Beijing, shook the global market. According to reports, while Western companies like OpenAI and NVIDIA are investing billions into AI development, the team in Beijing created DeepSeek with just $6 million and completed it in only 2 months. This disparity has left investors and tech giants scrambling. The result? A massive drop in the American stock market, an estimated 3% decline, amounting to a staggering $1 trillion in losses. It's no secret that the tech sector took the hardest hit. The market is volatile, yes, but this kind of disruption raises critical questions. Was this just an accident of innovation? Or was it a carefully orchestrated move? Here's the kicker. The timing of this breakthrough benefits some key players. For instance, Elon Musk, or as I like to call him, Elio Mosca, has close ties with Beijing. Despite being one of the most prominent figures in Western tech, his interactions with Beijing have been notably cooperative. Not once has he openly criticized their policies. Could this be a coincidence, or does it point to a larger alignment of interests? It's also worth noting how AI's emergence is reshaping industries and economies. Take OpenAI as an example. Once founded with noble intentions of being open source and nonprofit, it's now seen as a symbol of corporate-driven AI. This transformation, from idealism to profit-focused competition, mirrors the larger dynamics at play in global markets. The rise of DeepSeek exposes the vulnerabilities in the Western approach to tech development and underscores the speed and efficiency of Eastern innovation. Let's also not forget the biblical concept of stewardship, which teaches us about responsibility and accountability. In Genesis, humanity is entrusted with the earth's resources and commanded to work and take care of it. Genesis 2:15. AI is no different. It's a resource with immense potential, but it must be managed wisely, or it could lead to unintended consequences. Another perspective on stewardship comes from the parable of the talents, Matthew 25:14-30, where servants are entrusted with resources and rewarded or punished based on how well they manage them. AI, much like these talents, is an asset with enormous potential for both good and harm. Mismanagement could lead to lost opportunities or even catastrophic consequences. Let's shift focus to the political chessboard. The concept of cui bono, or who benefits, is a powerful lens through which we can examine these developments. One figure who seems to benefit from these shifts is the U.S. President, Donald Ronald Bump. His administration's focus on prioritizing AI as a national security asset aligns perfectly with the narrative created by the emergence of DeepSeek. Here's why. The unveiling of DeepSeek serves as a wake-up call for American tech industries. It bolsters arguments for massive investments in AI, like the Stargate project, a $500 billion initiative aimed at ensuring American dominance in AI. By emphasizing the competitive threat posed by Beijing, President Bump can justify unprecedented spending on technological advancements. This isn't just about innovation, it's about maintaining economic and military superiority. Meanwhile, Elon Musk also stands to gain. As a competitor of OpenAI, his own AI projects under xAI benefit from the setbacks faced by rivals like Sam Altman's OpenAI. The narrative of an AI breakthrough in Beijing highlights the limitations of current Western models, creating space for Musk's ventures to shine. It's a classic case of divide and conquer, where rivalries within the tech world can be exploited for strategic advantage. These developments remind me of a biblical teaching about the dangers of selfish ambition. In James 3:16 it says, "For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every evil practice." This warning feels particularly relevant when we consider how competition in AI could lead to unethical practices and a focus on profit over societal well-being. But it's not just about ambition. The geopolitical stage is being shaped by these advancements in AI. Nations are leveraging this technology to bolster their influence globally, often at the expense of smaller or less developed countries. What we're witnessing is not just a tech race, it's a battle for control over the narrative and the future. The conversation about AI isn't just about economics or innovation, it's also about control. AI systems like DeepSeek and ChatGPT are more than technological marvels. They're tools for shaping narratives and perceptions. One concern is the potential for bias and censorship within these systems. For instance, reports suggest that DeepSeek has been programmed to avoid criticizing its developers or the government policies in Beijing. This raises ethical concerns about how AI can be used as a tool for propaganda. If an AI system selectively filters information, it's not just an innocent tool. It becomes an instrument of power. We've seen this before in other contexts. Platforms like social media have already demonstrated how algorithms can shape public opinion. The rise of AI adds another layer to this dynamic, making it even easier for those in power to control the flow of information. This is why transparency and accountability in AI development are critical. Without them, we risk creating tools that serve the interests of a few at the expense of the many. Transparency in AI is akin to the biblical principle of truth. In John 8:32 we read, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Ensuring truth and fairness in how AI systems operate is essential for preserving freedom and preventing misuse. Furthermore, AI's role in surveillance is another concern. Governments and corporations are already utilizing AI to monitor citizens and consumers. While this can have benefits, such as improving security or targeting services, it also raises questions about privacy. Are we ready to live in a world where our every move is tracked and analyzed? The global race for AI dominance has far-reaching implications. Economically, it's about who can create the most efficient, scalable, and profitable systems. Politically, it's about influence and leverage. Militarily, it's about who controls the most advanced technologies. But there's another layer to consider: the social impact. As AI becomes more integrated into our lives, it will inevitably shape the way we interact with technology and each other. This raises questions about privacy, ethics, and the role of AI in decision-making processes. For example, should AI be used in governance? Should it influence public policy? These are not just technical questions. They're deeply philosophical ones that require careful consideration. We must also think about the potential for AI to create inequality. Advanced AI systems are expensive to develop and maintain, meaning only the wealthiest nations and corporations can afford them. This could deepen the gap between developed and developing countries, creating a new form of digital colonization. It's a sobering thought that should inspire action to ensure AI benefits everyone. Another key consideration is how AI might replace human jobs. While automation and AI have the potential to increase efficiency, they also pose a threat to employment in industries ranging from manufacturing to healthcare. How will societies adapt to this shift? Will we see an increase in social inequality? Or can we find ways to ensure AI complements human effort rather than replacing it entirely? History offers valuable lessons about the interplay between power, control, and innovation. From the Roman Empire to the Industrial Revolution, technological advancements have always been closely tied to shifts in power dynamics. Today, AI is the latest chapter in this story. The question is, will we learn from the mistakes of the past? Will we allow technology to become a tool for exploitation, or can we use it to build a more equitable world? The answer depends on how we choose to develop and regulate these technologies. It also depends on how informed and engaged we are as citizens. One example from history that stands out is the arms race during the Cold War. The pursuit of advanced weaponry created immense global tension and fear. Similarly, the AI race could lead to unintended consequences if ethical considerations are ignored. It's a powerful reminder that progress without principles can be dangerous. So, where does this leave us? In a world that's increasingly interconnected yet divided, I believe it's crucial to focus on preparation. Economically, this means building resilience, whether that's through diversifying income streams, saving for emergencies, or investing wisely. Politically, it's about advocating for policies that promote fairness and sustainability. And on a personal level, it's about staying informed and adaptable. The pace of change is accelerating, and those who can't keep up risk being left behind. But staying informed doesn't mean just scrolling through social media. It means diving deeper, questioning narratives, and seeking out reliable sources. In addition, it's about cultivating a mindset of adaptability. Just as technology evolves, so too must our ability to respond to challenges and opportunities. This isn't just about survival, it's about thriving in a rapidly changing world. As Proverbs 4:7 reminds us, wisdom is supreme. Therefore get wisdom. Though it cost all you have, get understanding. As I wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought. The world is shifting in ways we've never seen before, and it's up to us to navigate these changes thoughtfully. Whether it's geopolitical strategies, economic policies, or technological advancements, each piece of the puzzle affects the bigger picture. And while we may not control the actions of governments or corporations, we can control how we respond, through awareness, action, and accountability. If this conversation resonated with you, let me know in the comments. What are your thoughts on the rise of AI and its implications for global power? Let's keep this dialogue going, because the more we talk about these issues, the better equipped we'll be to navigate the challenges ahead. As always, stay curious, stay informed, and stay proactive. See you in the next video.